But that's part of the system. Meaning, if atheism is to exist, let it exist. It has its right. If agnosticism wants to exist, let it exist. Right, and no one has the right to take it away from that individual. No one. You can come forward and bring arguments to the individual and show them evidence, but the condition is unequivocal that whether you're a believer in God or a disbeliever in God, you have no right to take the right of another human being. It's a universal principle in Islam. Regardless of what faith you belong to, you have no right to take the right of any human being on earth, or for that matter, in the universe. Doesn't matter on earth, could be on any planet. You have no authority because the creator is the giver of rights and the taker of rights. No created being has that authority. Unless the creator gives you that authority, you have no authority. There are people obviously who take false authority. But you have to take it back to the principles that drive the very system and say, is this principle allowing you this authority? And by what rule have you been given this principle? And therefore you find that with Mr. Birnbaum, you know, he was of the Jewish faith. I said, Mr. Birnbaum, you know that the Jews have a period called the Golden Age. He said, yes. I said, tell me, Mr. Birnbaum, who ruled you in the Golden Age? And he was stunned. He knew what I was talking about. He was a history teacher. I said, the Muslims were ruling you in Spain. But the Muslims were a major power in the world at that time. And the Jews, the Christians, the all the different groups of, all different kinds of faiths were given freedom to profess their faiths under that authority. So what you find is the Golden Age was at that period of time. I said, if this religion is violent, it takes the rights of people away, it's a religion that condemns, then how did it allow people of these different faiths to live under its banner with peace and harmony? How? Number two, if this religion were to truly do what you claimed it to be, that it would go to door, knocking people's heads off, you know, psychologically speaking and logically speaking, if somebody came knocking at my door with a sword and told me, accept my religion or I'm going to kill you, what do you think I'm going to do? Of course I'm going to accept it. I'd be crazy not to. My life is precious. But tell me, when the sword moves away from me, do you think I'm going to accept it? Furthest from my faith will be that. Because even if that faith is true, it will have come with such a bad taste that there is no way I will submit to that faith. No way. No way. And the chances of me ever accepting that are so low, unless there was some miracle that took place within it, that I'm going to submit myself to it. So, if that's the case, then why is this religion, Islam, growing so fast and rapidly around the world? Why? If it is such a religion that promotes terrorism as is being promoted in the media today, why? It's because it is not. And this is my conclusion. My conclusion on this is very simplistic. It's what we find is we are embroiled in a front line. The Middle East is a hot zone today. Why is it a hot zone? For numerous reasons. One being oil is a major entity that the whole world wants, and the largest reserves are on that part of the earth. Two, the history of the Abrahamic faiths, meaning Judeo-Christian, Islamic, the three Abrahamic major faiths on earth, that's composed of 70% of the world's population today, if not 80% of the world's population, is composed of the Abrahamic faith. There's a powerful entity of seeing the roots of its own faith within that region. And therefore, there are many sentimental values attached to that region of the world. That's another aspect. So that brings it onto the front lines of the political front lines. What we find is historically, when the Romans were ruling, when the Persians were ruling, when the Muslims were ruling, there were all these manufacturing institutions that created a certain thinking pattern for the people in order to meet the criteria of its own agendas. Look, when you go back in history, you'll find who has written history for us. It's not a secret. History is usually written by the winners, not by the losers. It's always usually the winners who write the history. The losers cannot write the history. It won't be accepted. So the winner can spin any idea it wants and leave it for the rest of humanity to wonder about their position. Alexander the Great had historians with him, and he made sure they wrote it a certain way. So in a certain way in history. He was a smart man. You find historically this is a classical problem. Now, 1,000 years later, 2,000 years later, when we're reading that history, we have to take it in light of the reality that this which I'm reading today, written by X amount of historians, how true is it? Authentic it may be, but how true is it? You will find that most likely, unless you're very astute in understanding the parameters by which we're pulling history from, and understanding the mentality of the people of the time, we will misconstrue that history today, and we will put our eyes into it, when in fact true history is when we put their eyes into history, which allows us to see through their lens, not through our lens, for us. And I think today, history is being churned around this issue, which I find to be very disturbing for me as a Muslim, and I'm here standing in front of you with honor and gratitude, the fact that we're given this opportunity as a nation that promotes freedom of religion, freedom of expression. And that's wonderful. And it's good that we have this openness. So in my conclusion, I say, if we take any community, be it a Muslim community, a Jewish community, a Christian community, an atheist community, and we unfairly brand them with titles, we will create trouble for no one but for ourselves. Because what happens then is, if you unfairly, I'll give you an example. You know, the Germans unfairly branded the Jews, unfairly stamped them. And what havoc and carnage did they cause? That people were running, changing their names, hiding. For what reason? Because they were unfairly giving something which was not theirs. Or they were taking something which was not theirs. What it does is it pushes the envelope too far, unfairly. I'm a proponent of the belief that we must understand each other. At the Tawheed Institute, we teach our children comparative religions. We teach them to understand Christian fundamentals, Christian ideals. What does a Christian mean when he says the blood of Christ? What does he mean? What does she mean by that? Understand it. Don't put your spin on it. It's unfair for you to look at a Christian through your eyes, because you may misunderstand them and then you may deal with them unfairly. It's not right. When you speak to an atheist, see it through his eyes. Understand and appreciate that if he's rejecting, he has a right to reject. Maybe he sees something you don't see. Maybe he has a reason for that moment to uphold that principle, and you have to respect that for that moment. And that's fundamental to us. So I think it's important that we expose the truth upon each other and not hide or give the short end of the stick to any different groups. So this is what I said even to the NBC interviewer. I said, don't give us the short end of the stick. Just be fair with us. We're not asking you to elevate us, and don't demote us. Just give us what we are. If we're not up there, then it's up to us to earn our own wings. But if we are up there, our wings down. It's not fair. We are a very powerful community in the world. We're not a small entity. 1/3 of the world's population, approximately, is us. We're not some 2,000 people on earth that you can point a finger at. We are a major, major population in the world. And we do have ideas, we do have beliefs, we do have existence, we do have a desire to live in peace. And we respect everybody's faith, and I think it's only fair that we're given the fairness that is due upon us. I am grateful that today, even in the presidential speeches, there was a time it used to just be Judeo-Christian. Today, at least, it's Judeo-Christian Islamic. And at least we're being recognized that we're not some small entity in this world. I thank you very much. God bless you.